Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Mariah's Stories, your little corner where real souls share real stories. Tonight, I have something special for you. This one came from a woman who lost everything in a single night and found something she never expected inside the last thing she was given. Grab your tea, settle in, and listen close. Here is her story, in her own words. 12 years. That is how long I poured every drop of myself into that man, into that family, into a life I thought was mine. And in the end, my husband looked me dead in the eye and said I was nothing. He slid those divorce papers across the kitchen counter like he was passing me a grocery list. His grandmother, the woman I called Nana Viv for over a decade, the woman I bathed when she had the flu and drove to every single doctor appointment, she stood right there behind him with her arms crossed and told me to get out of her grandson's house before she called the police. But let me start from the beginning so you understand how deep this cut really went. My name is Celeste. I grew up in a small town outside of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, raised by my mama, a retired schoolteacher who worked 2 jobs to put me through college. Mama Lorraine always told me the same thing. Baby girl, your kindness is your gift, but do not let anyone turn it into your weakness. I wish I had listened sooner. I met my husband Dominic when I was 23 years old. He was 2 years older, working as a junior loan officer at a bank in Charlotte, North Carolina, where I had just moved to start my catering business. Dominic had a story that broke my heart the first time he told it. His parents walked out on him when he was 4 years old, just left him with his grandmother, Mrs. Vivian Hale, and never looked back. His grandmother raised him and his younger sister Renee all by herself in a tiny duplex on the west side of Charlotte. Dominic was kind back then. He had this gentle way about him, always opening doors, always asking how my day went, always making me feel like I was the only woman in the room. We got married in a small ceremony at my mama's church in Baton Rouge. No fancy reception, no honeymoon, just love, or what I believed was love. After the wedding, we moved into a cramped 1-bedroom apartment in Charlotte. I was building my catering company from nothing, cooking out of a rented commercial kitchen, delivering orders in my own car. Dominic encouraged me at first. He would help me carry trays on weekends and taste test my recipes. Those early years were hard but sweet. My business grew. 1 client turned into 10, 10 turned into 50. Within 5 years, Celeste's Table had become one of the most popular catering companies in the Charlotte area. We served weddings, corporate events, even a few celebrity parties. I was pulling in serious money, and I never once hid it from my husband. Every dollar I earned, I considered ours. That was my first mistake. When Dominic said he wanted to move into a bigger house, I put up the majority of the down payment. $380,000 of my savings went toward a beautiful 4-bedroom home in the Ballantyne neighborhood. When his grandmother's duplex started falling apart, leaking roof, cracked foundation, mold in the walls, I told Dominic we should help. I wrote a check for $220,000 to renovate and expand that duplex into a proper home. Nana Viv hugged me so tight that day I thought she would crack my ribs. She held my face in her hands and said, "Celeste, God sent you to this family. I will never forget what you have done for us." I believed her. Now let me be clear about something because I do not want any confusion. Nana Viv was Dominic's grandmother, his father's mother. She raised Dominic and Renee after their parents disappeared. Dominic's actual parents, the ones who abandoned him, they resurfaced years later living in a rundown trailer park somewhere in rural Georgia. They had no part in our lives. So when I say my mother-in-law, I mean Nana Viv. She was the only parent Dominic ever knew. Then there was Renee, Dominic's little sister. Smart girl, ambitious, always talking about wanting to get her MBA overseas. She looked up to me like a big sister. One evening she came to me crying, saying she had been accepted into a program in London, but there was no way she could afford it. Before she even finished her sentence, I told her I would cover it. For 3 years, I sent Renee $4,000 every single month. I skipped vacations. I wore the same clothes. I reinvested less into my own business so that girl could have her dream. Dominic kissed my forehead and called me the most generous woman alive. Everything changed about 2 years before the end. Dominic got promoted to regional director at the bank. Suddenly, he was wearing Italian suits. taking business trips to Miami and New York, coming home smelling like cologne I did not buy him. He started criticizing everything I did. The house was not clean enough, my cooking was not sophisticated enough, I was not interesting enough to bring to his new networking events. He said I embarrassed him. That word stuck in my chest like a nail. Embarrassed. The woman who financed his entire life embarrassed him. Then Renee came home from London, and she was a different person. Gone was the sweet girl who used to help me in the kitchen. She came back polished, sharp-tongued, and looking at me like I was something stuck to the bottom of her shoe. She started whispering with Dominic behind closed doors. They went out to parties together, to restaurants I was never invited to. She told me once, with a little smile on her face, "Celeste, in this world, if you are not evolving, you are dying. Maybe it is time you evolved." I should have seen what was coming. But love makes you blind, and loyalty makes you deaf. The night it all fell apart was a Thursday in November. Dominic came home late. I was sitting at the kitchen table with dinner I had kept warm for him. He did not even look at the food. He dropped a manila envelope on the counter and said, "Sign these. I need you out by the weekend. Divorce papers." I stared at them. My hands went cold. 12 years of marriage reduced to a stack of paper and a man who could not even look at me while he destroyed my life. I asked him why. He said I no longer fit the life he was building. He said Renee had introduced him to people who could take his career to the next level, and those people expected a certain kind of wife. He said I was not that kind. Then Nana Viv walked in. The woman I had loved, like my own grandmother. She looked at me with the coldest eyes I had ever seen on her face and said, "You heard him. Pack your things and go. This house is in his name. You have nothing here. Do not make this ugly." I tried to remind them. I tried to say that I had paid for most of that house, that I had rebuilt Nana Viv's home, that I had funded Renee's entire education. Nana Viv cut me off. "Where is the proof? Your name is not on anything. You gave that money freely. Now, leave freely." Dominic grabbed my arm and walked me to the front door. My suitcase was already packed and sitting in the hallway. He had planned this. They all had. He pushed me out onto the porch. It was raining, one of those cold November rains that soaks through everything. I stumbled down the steps, my suitcase falling beside me. Just before the door closed, Nana Viv appeared one more time. She was holding an old beat-up shoebox, the kind you find in the back of a closet. She tossed it at my feet. It landed in a puddle. "Here," she spat. "Take the rest of your junk." And she slammed the door. I sat on that wet sidewalk for I do not know how long. The rain pounded my back. The streetlights blurred through my tears. I had no home. I had no husband. I had given everything and been thrown away like garbage. At some point, I looked down at the shoebox sitting in the dirty water. I almost left it there. But something, maybe instinct, maybe desperation, made me pick it up. I tucked it under my jacket to keep it dry and walked to the nearest bus shelter. Under the flickering fluorescent light, I opened the lid. What I found inside stopped my heart. On top was a savings passbook, dark green cover, brand new, from a bank I had never used. I opened it and saw my name, Celeste Marie Hale, and beneath my name was a balance that made the world go silent. $8 million. I read it again. $8 million. My hands started shaking so bad I nearly dropped it. Underneath the passbook was a thick envelope of legal documents. I pulled them out. A property deed for a penthouse condominium at The View, one of the most exclusive high-rise buildings in uptown Charlotte. Fully paid. Owner listed as Celeste Marie Hale. Beneath the deed was a set of keys and a sealed letter. I recognized the handwriting on the envelope immediately. It was Nana Viv's. My fingers were trembling so hard it took me 3 tries to tear it open. I unfolded the paper and began to read. "My dearest Celeste, if you are reading this, then the worst has happened, and I am so sorry. I am sorry for every terrible word I said to you tonight. I am sorry for the cruelty you saw in my eyes. None of it was real. It was all an act, the hardest performance of my life, and my heart is shattered for having to do it, but I had no other choice. I have known for over a year what Dominic and Renee have been doing. Your husband has been stealing from your company. He created a fake consulting firm and has been funneling your money into it with help from someone inside your business. Renee has been encouraging him every step of the way. They plan to drain your accounts completely, then divorce you and leave you with nothing. I tried to reason with them. I begged Dominic to stop. But greed has consumed them both. They are my grandchildren, and I love them. But I will not stand by and watch them destroy an innocent woman. You are the only person in this family who ever loved me for who I am, not for what I could give. So I made a decision. I would pretend to be on their side. I would play the role of the cruel grandmother, so they would trust me, so they would believe I supported their scheme. That way, I could work behind the scenes to protect you. The $8 million is everything I have. My retirement savings, the money from selling parcels of land I inherited from my late husband's family, investments I have been managing quietly for 40 years. No one in the family knew about any of it. I kept it hidden because I wanted to see who would love me when they thought I had nothing. Dominic and Renee failed that test. You passed it every single day. The penthouse is yours. I bought it 6 months ago in your name. Dominic cannot touch it. There is a prepaid phone at the bottom of the box. Use it to contact me. Do not use your regular phone. They may be monitoring it. For now, play the part of the broken woman. Let them think they have won. I am gathering evidence of everything they have done. When the time is right, we will make them answer for it. Be strong, my daughter. This is not the end. It is the beginning. With all my love, Nana Viv. I pressed that letter against my chest and sobbed. Not from pain this time, but from a flood of gratitude so overwhelming I could barely breathe. The woman I thought had betrayed me had sacrificed everything to save me. She had swallowed her own dignity, played a monster in front of her own grandchildren, all to shield me. I wiped my face. I looked at the passbook, the deed, the keys. These were not just material things. They were armor. They were weapons. And I was going to use every single one of them. That night, I called my friend Patrice, a woman I had helped get back on her feet years ago when she first moved to Charlotte. She lived in a quiet apartment in Mint Hill, far from anyone who knew my social circle. She did not ask questions. She just said, "Get here. I am making you soup." At Patrice's kitchen table, wrapped in a warm blanket, I began to plan. I used Nana Viv's prepaid phone to text her. "I am safe," she replied within minutes. "Good. They are already celebrating. Stay hidden. I am watching them." Over the next few days, I dove into my company's financial records from Patrice's laptop. I knew exactly what to look for now. And I found it. A company called Meridian Partners, LLC, registered 6 months prior. The legal representative was listed as Dominic Hale. There were monthly payments from Celeste's table to Meridian Partners, each one between $8,000 and $15,000, disguised as marketing consultation fees. Over 6 months, nearly $400,000 had been siphoned out. The invoices were approved internally by Kendra Moss, my head of accounting, a woman I had trusted for 7 years. A woman I had given a raise to just last Christmas because I thought she deserved it. I did not cry. I did not scream. I sat there in that quiet apartment and let the anger harden into something useful, something sharp. The next morning, I called my mama. I told her everything, the divorce, the betrayal, Nana Viv's secret plan. My mother listened without interrupting. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "Baby girl, you remember what I always told you. Your kindness is your gift. But right now it is time to use your other gift, your brain. Go get them." Mama connected me with a lawyer she knew from her church network, a man named Mr. Hammond, one of the sharpest attorneys in the Carolinas. He specialized in fraud and asset recovery. When I sat in his office and laid everything on the table, the bank statements, the shell company records, Nana Viv's letter, the audio recordings she had been secretly making of Dominic and Renee's conversations, Mr. Hammond leaned back in his chair and smiled. "Not only do you have enough to win every penny back," he said, "you have enough to put him behind bars." He looked at me. "The question is, how far do you want to go?" I did not hesitate. All the way. Mr. Hammond and I built our case in silence over the next 3 weeks. Nana Viv continued feeding us information from the inside. She recorded Dominic instructing Kendra to delete financial records. She recorded Renee bragging to a friend about how they had gotten rid of me and taken everything. Every recording was another nail in their coffin. Then the opportunity arrived. The Charlotte Chamber of Commerce was hosting its annual winter gala at the Ritz-Carlton. Dominic had been invited as a rising star in the banking community. He planned to attend with his new girlfriend, a woman Renee had introduced him to, a social media influencer with expensive taste and no idea she was dating a thief. Renee was going to be there too, dressed to the nines, ready to network her way into Charlotte high society on my dime. I decided that gala would be their stage. And mine. The night of the event, I stood in the mirror at Patrice's apartment. I wore a simple black dress, my mama's pearl earrings, and a look in my eye that could cut glass. Patrice hugged me at the door. "Go show them who you are." Mr. Hammond, 2 notary witnesses, and I arrived at the Ritz-Carlton at 8:15. The ballroom was magnificent. Chandeliers, champagne towers, 300 of Charlotte's most influential people all gathered in one room. I spotted Dominic immediately. He was near the front, laughing with a group of executives, his arm around his new girlfriend like he did not have a care in the world. Renee was beside him in a sequined gown, glowing with the confidence of someone who believed she had gotten away with everything. I walked in. The room did not notice me at first. Then one person recognized me, then another. Whispers started spreading like wildfire. "Is that Celeste? I thought she left him. What is she doing here?" Dominic saw me. The color drained from his face so fast it was like watching a candle blow out. Renee grabbed his arm. I walked straight to the front of the room where a microphone stood ready for the evening's speakers. The host tried to stop me, but Mr. Hammond handed him a card and said 3 words, "She has the floor." I took the microphone. The room went silent. "Good evening, everyone," I said, and my voice did not shake, not even a little. "My name is Celeste Hale. Most of you know me as the woman behind Celeste's table. Some of you know me as the wife Dominic Hale recently discarded. Tonight, I want to show you something." The screen behind me lit up. Mr. Hammond's team had prepared everything. First, the bank records showing my contributions to our home, to Nana Viv's house, to Renee's education, hundreds of thousands of dollars, all from my accounts. Then the incorporation documents for Meridian Partners LLC, with Dominic's name in bold. Then the fraudulent invoices, the wire transfers, the trail of stolen money laid bare for every person in that room to see. Then the audio recordings. Dominic's own voice telling Kendra to destroy the evidence. Renee's voice laughing about how easy it had been to get rid of me. The room erupted. People gasped. Some stood up. Dominic tried to rush the stage but was blocked by security that Mr. Hammond had arranged. Renee collapsed into a chair, white as a sheet. The influencer girlfriend stared at Dominic like she was seeing him for the first time, then quietly picked up her purse and walked out without a word. I set the microphone down and stepped off the stage. I did not need to say anything else. The truth had spoken for itself. Nana Viv was waiting for me near the exit. She was crying, but she was smiling. She took my hand and squeezed it. "It is over, baby. Let us go home." We walked out of that hotel into the cool December night. Behind us, I could hear the chaos still unfolding, the shouts, the camera flashes, the sound of a man's empire crumbling in real time. I did not look back. The weeks that followed moved fast. The police opened a formal investigation. Dominic was arrested and charged with fraud, embezzlement, and conspiracy. Kendra was charged as his accomplice. The court found Dominic guilty and sentenced him to 12 years. Kendra received 5. Renee, though not directly involved in the theft, was put on 2 years of probation for her role in facilitating and benefiting from the scheme. She was ordered to repay every dollar. I reclaimed my company. I restructured, hired new people I could trust, and within a year, Celeste's table was stronger than it had ever been. But more than that, I started the Harvest Foundation, a non-profit dedicated to helping women who had been financially exploited by the people they loved. We provided legal aid, business training, and emergency housing. Within 2 years, we had helped over 1,000 women rebuild their lives. Nana Viv moved into the penthouse with me. For the first time in her life, she did not have to pretend to be someone she was not. She told me her full story, how she had quietly built her savings over 4 decades, investing small amounts, buying land when it was cheap, never telling a soul because she wanted to know who loved her and who loved her money. I learned more from that woman in those months than I had in all my years of business. A little over a year after the gala, Nana Viv introduced me to a man named Elijah. He was the son of her oldest friend who had passed away. A pediatrician, quiet and kind, raising his 6-year-old daughter Zara on his own after his first wife left. He was nothing like Dominic. He did not care about money or status. He cared about whether Zara had someone to read to her at night and whether the people around him were good. We started slow. Coffee, walks in Freedom Park, Sunday dinners where Zara would sit on my lap and tell me about her drawings. I was terrified to trust again. But Elijah never pushed. He just showed up, day after day, steady and patient, until one afternoon Zara looked up at me and said, "Miss Celeste, can I call you Mama?" I could not speak. I just nodded and held that little girl so tight. Elijah proposed on a quiet evening on the balcony of the penthouse while the Charlotte skyline glittered below us. No grand gesture. Just a simple ring and the words, "I do not promise you perfection. I promise you that you will never have to wonder if you are loved." We married on a beach in Hilton Head. Small ceremony. Mama Lorraine, Nana Viv, Patrice, Elijah's family, and Zara in a little white dress throwing flower petals everywhere. A year later, our son Isaiah was born, and our family was complete. I did hear from Dominic one last time. A letter from prison, short and broken. He said he was sorry. He said he finally understood what he had thrown away. He asked me to check on his parents in Georgia, the ones who had abandoned him as a child. They were old now and had no one. I thought about it for a long time. Then I sent them a monthly care package and arranged for a home health aide to visit. Not because they deserved it, not because Dominic asked, but because carrying hate is heavier than carrying grace, and I was done being weighed down. Renee showed up at my office one rainy Tuesday, 2 years after the trial. She looked nothing like the polished woman who had come back from London. She was thin, worn out, and she could barely look me in the eye. She knelt on my office floor and begged me for a chance to start over. I did not forgive her that day. Some wounds take longer than others, but I gave her a card with the address of the Harvest Foundation. I told her they needed a bookkeeper, that the pay was modest but the work was meaningful. She took it with shaking hands and left without another word. I heard later that she stayed, that she worked harder than anyone there, that she eventually became someone the other women looked up to. Maybe redemption is possible. I hope so. Nana Viv passed away peacefully 3 years ago, in her sleep, in the penthouse she loved, surrounded by the family she had chosen. The night before, she held my hand and said, "Celeste, I spent my whole life testing people. You were the only one who never failed. Take care of our babies." I told her I would, and I have. Now I am 62 years old. My hair has its share of silver. Zara is in architecture school. Isaiah just started his own little business selling homemade hot sauce, and I could not be more proud. Elijah and I sit on our porch most evenings, watching the sunset, talking about nothing and everything. The Harvest Foundation has grown into something bigger than I ever imagined, helping women across 5 states. I do not run it anymore. I handed that torch to the next generation. But I still show up to mentor, to listen, to remind every woman who walks through those doors that being kind does not make you weak. It makes you powerful. The key is knowing when to pair that kindness with the courage to fight back. Sometimes I think about that rainy night on the sidewalk, the woman sitting in a puddle, holding an old shoebox, thinking her life was over. If I could go back and talk to her, I would say, "Open it. Open the box." Because the thing they threw away as trash is going to save your life, and the people who tried to break you are going to watch you rise so high they will have to shield their eyes. That is my story. It is not about revenge. It is about learning that sometimes the people who seem the cruelest are the ones fighting the hardest for you, and sometimes the ones who say they love you are the ones you need to walk away from. It is about forgiveness, not because they earned it, but because you deserve the peace that comes with letting go. If my story touched you, go ahead and subscribe to Mariah's Stories. Leave a comment and tell me what city you are listening from and what time it is. I always love seeing how far these stories travel. And if you want to support the channel, you can do that through Super Thanks. It means the world. I have put 2 more stories on the screen for you. Click on one and let us keep this evening going. Much love to all of you.